and welcome to this new moon energy report, my loves. This is April 22nd was the official new moon transition time, 2020 in the sign of Taurus. So for those of you who are new to my videos, welcome. My name is Shakti, and I teach on healthy mind, healthy body, but really the relationship of the temple and the spirit, and why it's so important to take care of both of them. One of my projects I do every month is moon reports on the full moon and the new moon, like this one. And so the energy of Taurus, there's so much to talk about because there's so many dominating elemental forces happening right now. And I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not going to go into all of the planets and all of the squares and all of that. That's not my strength, or even though I have studied it. I like to talk about the overarching energies and report on that and how you can use them in the current climate that we're in to maximize your experience. I'm also going to talk about oracle cards that I pull for every moon report. And if you are one of my patrons, shout out to you. After this, in the evening time of the day that I put up these videos, I usually go behind the scenes and I do card pulls and channeling specifically for them. So if you want to figure out how to become a patron, just check down below and you can see all the details in the link there. And if you haven't subscribed, of course, go on, subscribe now. You know you want to. Okay, so let's dive in. A couple of things really stood out to me when I was doing my research and connecting with other astrologers and kind of seeing what they were feeling and what they were vibing with. And so that's what I'm going to talk about first. Some of the major themes for this new moon are spiritual activation, spiritual, it's almost like being in a dark room and having all the lights turned on at once. This is very similar to how I described the 2 years ago during an eclipse that we had in August of the Lion's Gate. I had this massive awakening to the ET community, to the galactic community. And my work really started to shift spiritually to working with the Galactic Federation and becoming an ambassador on Earth for them and those collectives. So right now it's a very similar time in the sense that I feel like many of us are waking up to spiritual truths and spiritual gifts that we have not fully employed up until right now. So this means timeline hopping. This means realizing that your life was going on a trajectory, and because of everything that's been happening, now it's on a different trajectory. Like maybe suddenly you're homeschooling and you're like, wow, this works so much better for a family. Or maybe you're home and maybe you found work from home and you're like, I like this better than I like being at my job. So whatever it is, for a lot of us, we are definitely timeline hopping and figuring out what we want and what we don't want in our reality and in our timelines. And that, to me, that's a form of spiritual activation, because that means we're coming into more of an alignment with what we actually want. Many of us have been living out of alignment and living in timelines that are not our maximum expression. And so right now I feel like aligning is almost becoming automatic for those of us because we were forced out of routine. So pattern interruption, routine interruption leads to discovery. And that's what we're having right now during this pandemic and having to be home. It's like, well, all of a sudden our pattern is interrupted and we get to look at our life from the outside in, which is really powerful. So that's happening. Also, certain gifts maybe are coming up for you. Like suddenly you're tapping into your intuition more, having premonitions more, thinking of something and then seeing it happen. Something that's definitely happening with manifestations is timelines are collapsing, in the sense that the time gap is collapsing. Like long ago, it used to be you would hold something that you wanted to manifest or hold the thought in your field of consciousness, and it might take a while for you to see the reaction or the consequence of that thing. That's not the case anymore. Now it's like automatic. Like you have a thought, you're going to get a response to that thought. So be watchful of what you are thinking, because the time gap is like non-existent right now. Another thing that kept coming up was to be open-minded. This is a time where a lot of things are coming to the surface. A lot of truth is coming to light. So I call myself a truther. I don't like the term conspiracy theorist. I am a truther, meaning I know deep truths and I have known them for a long time, but now is the time to really open up about them and like share what you know. So I have really taken on my truther identity and been like, okay, let's have conversations that are uncomfortable but true. And I'm seeing a lot of people do the same thing. And I made a video, you can catch that link somewhere around here, about the indigo children and how the indigo children are at the front line of all of this. The indigo kids are the ones who are the mouthpieces. They are the truthers. They are the ones who are shouting. They are the ones who are getting shadow banned. They are the ones who are making a noise about what's happening right now. And that's their role. That's why they're actually here. So this is a time of a great revealing. Open up your mind. Suspend what you've thought you've known and start to pay attention to alternate narratives. Because if you do that, you're going to notice that a lot of things that you thought were true are actually untrue, and a lot of things that you thought were crazy are actually true. The energy of Uranus is super prominent right now. So rebellion, the energy of rebellion, of breaking out, breaking free, and not conforming, that's what we're having right now. That's why you're seeing such an uprising of energy and such, it's being called the Great Awakening. That's exactly what's happening, because we are literally under the influence of that right now. This is the time for that right now. So I mentioned in one of the posts I put on social media too, that new moons are the time for setting new intentions. But when you're doing that in this particular moon, don't forget to also set it for the earth. So the sign of Taurus is being earth sign, but it's also very connected to Venus, planet of love, femininity, the earth. So set an intention for her as well. Set an intention for the transition into this ascension process, so that we do end up with that harmonious, beautiful future that we, the truthers, are really fighting for and pushing for right now, and holding the intention for. Because part of what's happening, and Pam Gregory talks about this, and I really love her work. She's a really on-point astrologer, is that she calls Taurus and Uranus like really awkward bedfellows, and they are, because Taurus likes what is conformity, structure, routine, and Uranus is the opposite. They're like, no, let's break shit up. So right now, there's a lot of awkward energy, a lot of tension, because these two polar opposite energies are kind of, they're at each other and they're existing simultaneously. But you can honor the Taurus energy by doing this ritual for earth and holding the space for the earth and finding yourself in moments of calm and in your breath and meditation. That's how you honor that energy. And you can honor Uranus and the rebel by just speaking truth. And when you find something that's powerful and true, sharing it in a way that brings truth to light and brings truth to the surface. So something else that she talked about, which I haven't talked about in a long time, this is Pam Gregory, it was the same video where she talked about the relationship between Taurus and Uranus, was that the earth is becoming more permeated by cosmic rays, which this is extremely scientific, and I'm definitely not going to go into that. But we are experiencing light and energy in our bodies that we've never had before. So many of us, myself included, are having physical things happen in our bodies that we've never had before. And part of that is because we are purging, we are upgrading, our DNA is actually changing. And so this is creating contention in the body. And we need to be very focused on healing self and making sure we're hydrated, we're well rested, we're nourishing our bodies, like really taking ownership of our health, because right now we are being exposed to a lot of energy that have not been used to for a long time. Just want to include that side note in there. Okay, so some of the cards that came up, first of all, a lot of green and a lot of earth. So if you notice, look at these beautiful, beautiful cards, and the theme in all these cards is the color green or tree patterns, right? Nature, the expression of nature, okay, which really makes a lot of sense. You have the chess queen, which is about trust. And for me, this has been huge because I'm teaching people to trust their inner voice, to trust their intuition, to trust your gut. This is definitely a time for you to trust yourself as a resource of wisdom when you're reading things on the news, when you're seeing posts, does something ring false or fishy, or trust yourself. You're probably right on, okay? There's definitely a lot of grieving happening right now, for sure. This is a huge part of, this is an emotional border card. A huge part of what we're doing is grieving collectively, which is why for a lot of empaths, this time feels really intense, because not only are you processing your own stuff, you're processing the collective stuff. So make sure you're taking the time to ground, shield, and meditate so that you're not all day long in everyone else's stuff, okay? However, a major arcana card of harmony does show us that this is what we're moving towards, okay? We are moving towards a more harmonious relationship to our earth. We're moving towards a more harmonious relationship to each other. Might be a little choppy, might not be the smoothest transition, but it is happening. So keep the faith and stay positive and just know that we are on our way. Okay. And again, choose wisely. It's another emotional border card is pay attention to the emotions you're choosing to feed most. It's okay to read stuff, and I do it. I go down the rabbit holes and I read some crazy stuff and dark occult stuff, and I'm like, Lord, I need to purge and sage for like 3 days. But make sure that you take breaks and make sure that you are balanced in your research so that your energy is not living in one particular frequency for so long, especially when the frequency is one that's heavy or dark. You want to make sure that you do your research, you learn what you need to learn, and you bounce right back into holding a steady frequency of harmony and of moving into a positive collective future. Okay? The next couple cards are very different than those. We have Patience and Planning, which is a material manifestation card. The Well Watcher, which is about wisdom and the wisdom of the divine, the well of divine wisdom. And the Major Arcana card of Sacrifice. Okay? So here's what I will say. Right now is the best time for you to be looking at your experience of reality and to ask yourself very deep questions of, do you like the life you had before this pandemic? Was it actually the life you wanted to live? Or are you realizing some things need to change and the pandemic really helped you isolate what those things were? Patience and planning. Have the patience, make the plans. Now is the time for you to set an intention for where you want to go when everything opens up and the world changes back into action. I'm not going to say back to where it was, because it's never going to go back to where it was, but back into a place of action. Have the plan in place so you're moving in the direction of what you want. Okay, the Well Watcher, the power of the divine, wisdom, going to the well of wisdom. Are you spending time going into the well, like really soaking in your own wisdom, absorbing your own wisdom, connecting to source, making sure that you are staying plugged in? I started a small ritual with myself and my organization, my business organization. I call it the 5 and 10. 5 minutes of morning meditation, 10 minutes of reading personal development. 5 and 10. It's 15 minutes of what you can do in the morning to anchor your spirit in the right place and rock the rest of your day. So adopt the 5 and 10 and make time to go into the well and absorb the wisdom of source. And sacrifice. With change, there comes sacrifice. You cannot grow and you cannot go where you want to go without sacrificing what you had. So for those of you who are looking at your lives and realizing that what you had before is not going to work for you, that's okay. Take the time to grieve it, because you will, and then realize that you are going to have to make some choices in your life that are going to feel like a sacrifice for you to go where you want to go. But that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Sacrifice is not bad, especially when there's intention and it's motivated by a vision or a goal. It's not all bad, okay? So this energy of rebellion, this energy of keeping an open mind, of truths being revealed, this is a potent, potent moon for intention setting, my friends. So take advantage of it. Set powerful intentions. Do a little ritual in your home, in your yard. Do a CE5 meditation and call in galactic friends and connect with them and have them help you understand where to go next, because right now the galactic energy on this planet is so high. Our galactic family is around. They're very involved. They're very hands-on on the planet. They're intimately involved in this transition of power, and they are eager to make contact and support and help. So go to watch some of Stephen Greer's work. I'll link some of his stuff down here below. Support him in his newest film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Do one of those meditations and clear your mind, connect. And I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing new moon experience. Thank you so much to my patrons. You guys are my absolute favorite. And if you'd like to become a patron, welcome on board. I will see you for the behind the scenes channeling sessions.